This is the N332 Driving in Spain podcast. Here's Mark Nolan with the latest.
Hello and welcome back to the N332 Driving in Spain podcast, your weekly source for road safety, traffic law updates and motoring history from Spain, the UK and beyond. I'm Mark Nolan and we're a teeny bit late this week, so apologies for that. I could blame traffic for the delay, but I've actually been working on something really exciting, but I can't tell you just yet. Anyway, back to this week, and our key word this week is distraction. We're covering an intense new campaign launched by the DGT and the Guardia Civil here in Spain, aimed at cracking down on drivers who aren't giving the road their full attention. We'll look at why that campaign is so necessary using a shocking news story from America this week, where a driver trying to change a song caused a horrific crash. We'll also be looking at major new signage and equipment updates. We'll dive deep into our essential new tyre safety articles available on the website this week, as October is Tyre Safety Month. And as always, we'll take a look through the motoring history books for the coming week. The dangers of distraction are not abstract, they are devastatingly real. And we have a sobering reminder of that from the US this week. A distracted driver, and I use that term precisely, hit a school bus full of children. When questioned, the driver admitted they were distracted because they were attempting to change the song they were listening to. That momentary lapse, that one small action sent 22 children and 3 adults to hospital. It is a terrifying illustration of the devastating consequences of momentary inattention. And that is exactly why the DGT and the Guardia Civil have launched a special high-intensity monitoring campaign across the country right now. Their message is clear. Distraction takes many forms, and they are targeting them all. While the use of a mobile phone remains the headline offender. And remember, merely holding a mobile phone while driving, even if you are stopped at a red light, is a serious offence that costs you 6 points and a €200 fine. The campaign's scope is far broader. Officers are specifically on the lookout for drivers engaging in other activities that take their attention away from the road. This includes checking social media, fiddling with a navigation device, but also more subtle habits that have become ingrained in driving culture. We're talking about smoking at the wheel, which can distract for up to 4 seconds while lighting up or discarding a butt. We're talking about talking to passengers, particularly if you turn your head away from the windscreen. And yes, even adjusting your radio, eating a sandwich, or applying makeup falls under the umbrella of inattention to driving under Article 18 of the traffic regulations, carrying stiff fines. The DGT's message is unequivocal. When you are behind the wheel, your sole focus must be on the road ahead, because as that terrible story from the States proves, even trying to change a song can destroy lives. Beyond the campaign on distractions, we have a few other important updates from both Spain and the UK this week. First, a quick but crucial reminder about equipment here in Spain. The deadline for the mandatory adoption of the V16 connected emergency beacon is fast approaching. From January the 1st, 2026, this GPS-enabled light will fully replace the traditional warning triangles, and the purpose, of course, is safety, allowing you to signal a breakdown without ever having to step out into fast-moving traffic, while automatically notifying the DGT of your exact location. If you're buying a beacon now, make sure it's a connected version, or you'll need to buy another one before the 2026 deadline. In terms of road markings, the DGT is continuing to roll out the continuous red line on high-risk sections of road. This marking is simply a reinforced visual warning, the Spanish equivalent of the UK's double continuous white line, signifying that overtaking is strictly prohibited due to danger. Separately, the introduction of a new sign which warns drivers of devices monitoring the minimum safety distance between vehicles on motorways continues to cause some debate amongst motorists. The DGT insists it's about preventing rear-end collisions, but the penalties are stiff, €200 and 4 points for non-compliance. And finally, across the pond in the UK, Parliament is reviewing proposals to introduce tougher penalties for careless driving offences, especially those that endanger vulnerable road users like cyclists and pedestrians. This is part of a global movement to ensure motorists take greater responsibility for those outside of their vehicle. Now, tying directly into the theme of vehicle safety and maintenance, we have published a comprehensive series of articles on the N332 website this week, all about tyres. Tyres are the only part of your car that touches the road, and their condition is perhaps the most underestimated safety factor. Our first two articles, Close-Up Tyre Inspection and Reading Tyre Codes, provide essential practical advice. We remind readers that while the Spanish legal minimum tread depth is 1.6 millimeters, safety experts, and our latest article, Under Pressure, which takes its cue from the UK's seasonal tyre safety month campaigns, recommend replacement closer to 3 millimeters. Why? Because research proves that in wet conditions, a tyre at the legal limit can take an extra 8 meters or 2 car lengths longer to stop from just 80 kilometers per hour compared to a tyre with 3 millimeters of tread. That is a life-changing difference. Our articles also detail the critical Spanish legal requirement that tyres on the same axle must be identical in size, type and tread pattern to prevent instability. If you're driving a vehicle in Spain, you need to understand the codes on the sidewall, the width, the ratio, the speed and the load rating, all of which must match your ITV card. We urge you to take 5 minutes a month to check your tyres for uneven wear, bulges, cracks and correct pressure, as this simple maintenance is the cornerstone of safety as the seasons shift. You can find all 3 detailed articles, including the stats on stopping distances, live right now on our website. Finally, as we turn our historian's eye to the week ahead, we find a great dual focus on both Spanish culture and British manufacturing. And here in Spain, the coming week often sees the celebration and gathering of classic motoring enthusiasts with events like the annual Mallorca Car Week. This event, which runs through this period, is an important reminder of the country's deep appreciation for automotive heritage, bringing together classic, historic and performance cars for scenic drives and concourse events. It's the kind of passionate event that preserves the history of the machine itself. And speaking of historic machines, on October the 13th, 1982, a car that would define a generation of British and European motoring was launched, the Ford Sierra. Replacing the aging but hugely successful Cortina, the Sierra was initially controversial. Its aerodynamic jelly mold styling, developed under the code name Project Tony, divided opinion and its sales struggled early on, but Ford stuck with it. And following a popular facelift, the Sierra went on to become one of the best-selling cars in Britain, proving that sometimes even a controversial design can stand the test of time. The Sierra was also a popular police car in the UK and the star of The Bill, for those who remember Tony Stamp and Co. Not quite as good as the Capri in my opinion, but each to their own. My personal favourite was a Rover, followed by a Range Rover, then the Capri. What about you, or are we heading into a rabbit hole here? Let's move on. So whether you are driving a brand new car or a classic Sierra, your greatest safety feature is your attention. Please heed the DGT's warning and campaign this week. Drive distraction-free. Check those tyres religiously using the information we have published, and make sure your safety equipment, from the V16 beacon to your seatbelt, is always up to the job. Thank you for listening. Please remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back next week for more news and updates. Until then, stay safe on the roads.
That was the N332 Driving in Spain podcast, presented by Mark Nolan. My name is Lily. If you want to know how we use AI in these productions, you can find out all about it on the website n332.es. See you next time.